Welcome to a busted play. An illegal use of hands to the face short. Hayden, recently, Davante Adams said that it would be a dream to play with Derek Carr. Now, I don't know what kind of dreams Davante Adams is having, but that sounds like a nightmare.
I This is so weird to me. I have no idea. You just got to be really careful what you say in press conferences as an NFL player. And even if it's somebody kind of just making a suggestion as a reporter, you've got to be like really clear and like shooting down ideas that are kind of like anti-team. And really just from getting the text blurb of this discussion that the reporters and Davante Adams had, it doesn't feel like he's shutting it down, at least on paper. Haven't heard it vocally, so that's something that you really should take into account. But it really is something that you should shut down immediately. Now, I just don't understand why you would even say that, because now it's just going to create even more tension for your team, with not knowing whether or not the MVP of the league and your quarterback is coming back this season. You're going to decide to say, oh yeah, I'd really like to play with one of my old college buddies. He was a really cool guy. I like him a lot, like that type of thing. And just do that, especially when you're going to be a free agent following this season. That's even weirder to say that. And who knows what happens when Derek Carr's contract expires in 2023. Maybe they're both on a new team together on some third team that isn't the Raiders or the Packers.
Yeah, that option seems like more of a possibility than them both being on the Raiders to me. Just, I think if the Raiders have a bad year, which is kind of what we're both expecting out of them, especially what they did this offseason, which is mind-boggling. I think they might move on from Derek Carr just because that's what franchises do when they don't have success. The first thing they do is like, oh, well, it's either the coach or the quarterback. And I think Gruden could smooth talk his way into another year. I really do. I don't think Derek Carr can. He he's just the Raiders organization. Granted, they run everything completely different from the other 31 teams in the league. So they might just end up blowing up the receiver room or some other room that doesn't, because they didn't succeed last season, so they blew up the offensive line that was the best unit in the league last season. So I don't know. Maybe they'll have the best D line and then blow that up and see. Oh, all right, let's see what can come out of that. But uh, yeah, Davante Adams has to shoot that down immediately. Just I'm here to focus on this team, or he played with the idea too much of, oh yeah, it'd be a dream to play with him. Like, I don't know. It just gives people like us more things to talk about.
Well, yeah, you said a lot of really interesting things in there. I mean, I wouldn't say the Raiders were the top O-line, but I mean, they're definitely top tier of offensive lines in the league, and then they blew that thing up. So if there's a position that I look to after that you could say is top tier for them, it's their running backs, which really isn't an important position, but having Josh Jacobs with Kenyon Drake as a backup now is a pretty solid grouping. So I'm sure they could both get sent off like together, packaged to one other team for like a 7th round pick next season or something if they really were trying to pick a random position to blow up because, they're actually good at that position. I tend to agree. Well, no, I not really agree with some of your points. Sorry. John Gruden, I really don't feel like he's, especially in like recent times, recent coaching years, I don't feel like he's done much to make his teams
No.
significantly better.
No.
And I don't think that he has actually helped Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is a pretty good player, and if he got the right coaching, you want to talk about like sending him to San Francisco or something like that. I feel like he would be a great quarterback. But just with what's going on there, I feel like they should be moving on from John Gruden, but I actually do feel like you're right. I feel like for whatever reason, the management in the Raiders building wants to keep Gruden around almost at like all costs. And that could mean firing Mike Mayock. That could mean getting rid of Derek Carr. That could mean a ton of things. And who knows? like you said, if they play poorly, and we expect them to, maybe Derek Carr is off the roster next season, and that happens. Davante Adams becomes a free agent with no reason to return to the Packers because Aaron Rodgers is gone. I don't think Jordan Love is that attractive at this point in time. Uh, I don't know. I really would like to see what could happen here next offseason. And I do actually think it's a possibility only because you really, like, when you say that type of thing, this isn't the type of thing you lie about, right? Like, if
Mm-hmm.
if he was not interested in playing with Derek Carr, and then he wouldn't say anything to the opposite. Like sometimes there's a reason to lie when you're talked to by
Mm-hmm.
the NFL media as a player, right? Like game planning, or just because it's like I'll have a better advantage myself if I hide things or whatever. This thing
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make any sense to lie. It would be lying the opposite way. It would be like, no, I don't really want to play with him to protect his current team, right? But
Yeah.
doing this, it has to be a truthful statement. And just with how everything's been going for the Packers organization, they must not like it. And with just how the Raiders team has been heading directionally, in our opinion, it feels like it's possible. And now I'm just wondering what team that could end up being next season if they actually both wanted to end up on the same team next year or 2 years down the road after Carr becomes a free agent as well.
Now, I have a bit of a hypothetical here. Aaron Rodgers doesn't play this season. He either opts out, or I think the deadline to opt out is tomorrow. So the day that this is up, I think that's the deadline to opt out. He opts out. They let Jordan Love play. He stinks up the joint. And they're like, all right, we just got to do something here. And then they make a trade for Derek Carr. And he comes to the Packers there. That's their ticket to re-sign Davante Adams because they know he wants to play with them. Ooh, that would be interesting to see what they do there. They send Aaron Rodgers to the Packers for Derek Carr and picks. Ooh.
Maybe this is a power play by Davante Adams. Oh my gosh. That would be wild if that's what this is. Or even
Yeah,
like they're working out this trade right now and it's just like, "Hey, Davante, sprinkle this in your next your next discussion with the media. Just like throw it in there. See how people feel about it, right?" Oh, that would be wild. Yeah, I don't know. If I'm a GM or anything like that, I'm doing what I think is best for my team this season. Uh, almost all the time, I feel like you're gonna
mm-hmm.
think somewhat down the road, but like what is best for my team this season? And I feel like the Packers should have moved on from Aaron Rodgers a while ago with the uncertainty there, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if he doesn't play, you have to also think about things in worst case scenario, right? Excluding injuries because just unpredictable. You can't. I mean, if everybody gets injured on your team, it doesn't matter what you put together, right? That's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about worst case scenario for like player skill or player decision making or anything like that. If worst case scenario, Aaron Rodgers just doesn't play at all this year, then
Yeah.
you should have tried to figure out how to make your team better for this season since you have such a valuable asset to get rid of, right? And I would have moved on from Aaron Rodgers by now just because he doesn't want to be there. And I think it's almost unfair to the team too to create a culture that's kind of just like built around that. It would be really wild if that was what happened. I just don't know if the Raiders would be willing to go get Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if they'd be willing to give that up. I mean, I feel like a lot of teams are obviously like willing to give up a lot for Aaron Rodgers because it's Aaron Rodgers, but just the Raiders don't feel like a team that's usually moving stuff around too much, especially in acquiring wild talent.
Yeah. The Raiders to me seem like they'd either not trade for Aaron Rodgers or trade way too much for him, like Derek Carr in their next like 4 first round picks, something like that. It just seems like Brian Gutekunst, the GM for the Packers, could just call him up like, hey, what would you give us for Aaron Rodgers? And the Max immediately like, oh, we'll give you next 5 first round picks and we'll throw in Derek Carr. He's like, oh, okay, no negotiation at all because he's like, oh, that's way more than I would have expected anyone to give me. So,
Yeah.
everyone listening, you've heard it here first. Aaron Rodgers is getting traded to the Packers. We're calling it, or I'm calling it. I'm calling it. It's gonna happen.
I would actually love to see Derek Carr get coached by Matt LaFleur. I would absolutely
Oh
love
yeah.
that. That would be
And
amazing.
if their plan is to still have Jordan Love sit for like 3 more seasons, that's when Derek Carr's contract expires, doesn't it?
He's got
Just
2 more years. So the
2 more years.
fourth year of Jordan Love's rookie deal would be his first season that he would start if Derek Carr was on the team.
That seems like what their plan was, though, to have him start like at the tail end of that rookie contract and then earn his 5th year option. So it doesn't seem like it's that
Yeah,
bad of a
but the
plan
fifth
if
year
they were to
option
do
is
that.
picked up after the third year or declined after the third year.
Oh, okay, so they'd probably just pick it up anyway then at that point.
Yeah, probably have to. And then he would probably end up getting a second contract because because they didn't evaluate him long enough to not give him a second contract, and then he may make less yearly on that contract than he did getting that 5th year option.
Yeah,
That would be funny.
yeah.
Don't see that often.
I don't know. I I don't want to say the whole NFC North, but just like the Packers and I mean the Lions are kind of figuring everything out. The Vikings, I'm on the outs with the Vikings, but I know you're looking at them more positively. The Bears though, like them a lot. Just the Packers are just whew, next to the Texans, right there with turmoil and teams.
NFC Championship game last season. I mean, that's wild to like have your team 180 that quickly.
Hmm.
Could you imagine if they just went for the touchdown there at that end of that NFC Championship game, got it and got the two? I don't think they would have been stopped on the 2-point conversion, so gotten that touchdown. I couldn't believe that in the moment, and just thinking back on it more and more, it's just crazy to see how different things play out so differently. And then Tom
Yep.
Brady's viewed completely differently too. If they come back and win that game, it
Hmm.
game of inches, and we all know it, but it's just wild.
Yep.
Uh, this is really gonna be an interesting thing to follow. Just because Davante Adams was willing to put that out there, it makes it so much
Oh
more
yeah.
interesting to me.
Yep.
I can't believe he did that, and I feel like that's basically everything I got to say on it. Though, are you all set?
Yeah, I think we can cut this here.